Nick.com, guys, whew, one of the biggest hidden gem of the 2000s. If you were a 2000s kid, you probably spent at least an hour a day on Nick.com. I have a deeper dive video that goes into all of the games that came out that year. You could check that out here, and this is just going to be a sample of all of that. With the most important secrets that I found on the website, which there are some shocking things. So if you haven't seen that video already, jump on in and we're gonna talk about the most crazy discoveries I found on the Nick website from some of the best shows, like Jimmy Neutron, Timmy Turner, SpongeBob, and so much more. With the games of Jimmy Neutron, there is a lot more that meets the eye. I'm not sure if you guys saw my Jimmy Neutron retrospectives, but when you go to the first season, they had like 5 episodes that were more like demo episodes, more pilots, to see if the show would work outside of the movie. Like, this was way prior to even that. They had a bunch of shorts that actually showed off the characters, the situation, and the place they lived in Retroville. They had a couple 5-minute segments, and they made a game for every 5-minute segment based off that exact title. Isn't that insane? Like, for example, they have New Dog, Old Tricks, and it's Cindy and Jimmy in this game having their dogs compete against one another with options of sitting, rolling over, speaking, begging, dance, and quit, which actually has Goddard just explode. So this exact short actually happened. It was like Jimmy and Cindy with their dogs competing at the park in Retroville. Same thing with Cookie Time. Cookie Time was another short about Jimmy and his mom, and he just wants a cookie but accidentally goes back in time and is chased by dinosaurs. So they somehow turned that into a game here, with Jimmy running away from the dinosaurs. I feel like with all these mini games, they could have made like a whole Mario Party type Nicktoons game, because these are all so cool and short that I feel like it would actually be a fun game. Pain Go Away is one where Jimmy's just running away from a bunch of dentists, and you're trying not to accrue too much pain with Cindy being right there present throughout the whole thing. In that short, Jimmy was actually going to the dentist and didn't want to get the pain, so he transferred it to somebody else, and that's exactly what's happening here. Then they have Carl Squared, where Carl accidentally clones himself multiple times. They turn that into a game where you just have to kill a bunch of copy Carls. Not much to say about that one. I just know that this is the short that was like more of a comedy bit with just Carl tripling himself. C- is also one where Jimmy accidentally sets Retroville underwater completely, and that's kind of how the episode ends, which is funny. And yeah, here it's just like a simulator where you're trying to get away from a giant fish with Goddard underwater. And it's clear that they didn't really know what Jimmy Neutron was going to be quite yet, because there's no Sheen character in any of these video games. And what's even stranger is that they're all based off almost the exact episodes that they were. Probably because Nicktoons bought Jimmy Neutron, had access to these early episodes, but didn't really have anything to do with them after the movie came out and the show came out. It's like, why would you just keep playing the demos? But they turned it into these games. Because I'm sure they had like the copyright over them, it would have been a great idea to just make use of these titles, which I think is so funny. I wonder if anybody has experiences with these online games more than they do with the actual episodes. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. And speaking of Sheen not being here, it's really weird because there's a game called Ultra Lord versus the Squirrels, and that actually wasn't based off any episode, and it's like a Pac-Man with Jimmy in the middle of it. And it's like you're collecting all these acorns, trying to avoid the squirrels, which I don't know why that's a mainstay for the Jimmy Neutron franchise, the squirrels, but whatever. Hypercorn, I couldn't really find a lot of footage of, but there is an episode about it, so I just had to mention it. Oh, and Lightspeed Liftoff. So this is just Jimmy running through his town, trying to dodge obstacles, which is a lot of these Nickelodeon online games. This one is also not based off of any prior episode, but it's still cool to see the origins of this before they decided the entire world. Like, they completely figured it out when they got to Backyard Smash Ball, and even though Sheen wasn't involved, they had the Adventures of Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius logo there, so it was guaranteed not to be before the movie. They even have the Yokians be the baseball players, and it looks really crisp, like high definition crisp. It's like Mario baseball level crispality. And you could even see Jimmy's full backyard as well as his school in the background, which is the most of this show I've ever seen. And of course, we can't forget the basic puzzle word search game that just has random things based on the Jimmy property. All around, the Jimmy Neutron games are definitely some of the coolest because of the CGI animation, the references to just Carl and Goddard as the only main characters. Like, it is definitely a nice piece of time to look back on. It gets really interesting when we see the cyberspace chase, which is almost an exact replica to Information Stupor Highway, one of the bigger, earlier Fairly OddParents episode. And it looks exactly like it did in the episode, which is kind of cool. It's like him going through the internet void, which is more relevant today than ever. You get like a firewall, you get the love letters to Trixie. It's like pretty meta that you get to experience all this. When you die, you just like kind of evaporate in the software. I don't know. I never got to play this one growing up, but this looks so cool. Not as intricate as the Jimmy Neutrons one, but Big Superhero Wish was also a two-part episode about Timmy bringing the Crimson Chin's arch enemies to life, and some of them are based off of Timmy's real life, and it's actually one of the more complicated games on Nick.com. Like, you get to see all the characters. There's like a lot of rules for no reason, but really you're just clicking and pointing to the villains. But it's in this comic book style that's really unique, and it's hard because you actually have to jump between each of the panels in the comic book that Timmy's reading. I'm just a big fan of the art style here. I feel like this is so clever, and we actually get a lot of really exciting gameplay. Like, this could have been a really good Game Boy Advance game, and nobody would have batted an eye. And even cutscenes in this tell such a good story. Like, I can't believe how much this is. Then we got Power Surge, which is actually from an exact episode as well. Even though it was like the Information Stupor Highway one, this was also like a cutaway of Timmy getting killed pretty quickly, but all around a better game than even Danny Phantom looks like. Who remembers this reference? Because I find this so cool. And when he dies, he just kind of like freezes on a screen that says, "At this rate, Timmy will never escape," which honestly is kind of existential for me, so I had to move on from this one. Rhythm Revolution actually incorporates the Pixies, so this was a lot further in the development of Fairly OddParents than I could have remembered. HP and Samson are in it, and it has a lot of catchy tunes from the School's Out musical, which I don't think came yet. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's just you catching pixies, and it's a really cool nod to the Fairly OddParents universe. Another really exciting one that actually reminds me of like Webkins or something is Sugar Rush, where you're running throughout Timmy's house. Probably the most I've seen of Timmy's house throughout the entire show, and it's kind of gorgeous. I love all of the style of Butch Hartman in this little runaround universe. Like, this is also something I think could have been a Game Boy game. Not much to it, you just collect candy and run away from Vicky, but it's really cool in how you do it. They have more than just the main room, and a lot of fairies pop up throughout it, which is fun. And yeah, Timmy Turner is certainly not as much as Jimmy Neutron. I feel like being a show about magic godparents, like, you could have done so much more, but maybe they were focused on the development of actual full-length games at this time. Who knows? Now let's jump into the most memorable SpongeBob games on this site. They have an anchovy feeding frenzy, which is a callback to the pilot. So cool that they even incorporated this. And it's a SpongeBob game where you're essentially feeding all the flounders. But it's funny because if you lose, you get a picture of Squidward as Employee of the Month, which is kind of disrespectful when you think about it. But then again, Squidward is a cartoon. Then we got Bikini Bottom or Bust. And this one is kind of like a Glove World type game where you're SpongeBob holding onto a glove balloon and you float as high as possible, collecting as many bubbles as you can. Oh my gosh, this would be such a good app game right now. I wonder if kids at this age that play like Krusty Cook-Off or all these boring Nickelodeon games are actually going to be nostalgic for them in a couple of years. Like, that thought intrigues me. And they have a category for like everything and an episode for everything. They even have Miss Puff's Boating School, which is like a simulator of first-person driving as SpongeBob and Mrs. Puff. And SpongeBob has the cowboy hat on, so it's directly referencing the episode where SpongeBob goes haywire on the road. There's no way I didn't play this one. This one looks so familiar to me, especially when, like, the giant brick walls come up. And, of course, SpongeBob had the most games. Like, we have 3 already, and we're just getting started. They even had a BC Bowling SpongeBob game with SpongeBob BC Special, the one that was like in complete silence. Ugh, I think it was called. And you get to bowl like SpongeBob in prehistoric times. Patrick is the one who keeps score, which is kind of cute. But you bowl through jellyfish and you knock down the pins. Not so much to say about this one. The one that got me the most nostalgic is the SpongeBob Bubble Bustin' game, because it's specifically promoting the movie and not the show, with art that is officially a part of the movie. Such a throwback to look at, too. It's like you have to pop all the bubbles, and I definitely played this one. There's like a bubble bomb, a bubble freeze, and it's so much easier to pop the bubbles that way, and I definitely love this one. This is probably one of my favorites. Like, I just remember the meter going up, and I love this one. And pretty much when you hit the very top of the meter is SpongeBob actually laughing, so you want to avoid that. And you have two endings, either SpongeBob's riding away on a motorcycle because he became a man, or he gets kicked out of the Thug Tug. This game actually seems a lot older. It's called Bubblegram, and it's essentially blowing a really interesting bubble from SpongeBob to Squidward's house. But it's more interesting because the art is taking from Steven Hillenburg's original drawing of SpongeBob, like from the pitch pages. It's so cool to think that they even reused this, and I didn't even notice. They have another game called Bumper Subs, where you can actually play as Sandy, Mr. Krabs, Squidward, and it's in a submarine-like setup with an extremely tiny camera to look through. And I don't know, this one's kind of eh. And you'd be nothing without those basic coloring games where you could take a picture of a Nickelodeon character and just choose what color you want their image to be. This definitely sparked my creativity when I was little. I love doing stuff like this, especially when there was so many options of like character designs and what they could be doing in the designs. Like, this wasn't exclusive to Nick.com. It was just such a fun trend at the time. Crater Crossing is another interesting one. It's like SpongeBob trying to jump from bubble to bubble to get to the end of the level, avoiding seahorses and sea urchins. And this is one of the normal ones. I feel like it gets really weird when we get to SpongeBob crosswords, and it's just a bunch of questions that have to do with Bikini Bottom. Like, but football throw has nothing to do with Bikini Bottom, so I don't even know if this is necessarily supposed to be SpongeBob, because it's not relevant to the show outside of anything else. Like, you could have slapped on Timmy Turner for all I care. Flip and Flop is definitely one of the other familiar ones. You're making Krabby Patties as fast as you can on the grill, and it's just you flipping patties, pretty much. Not much to say about this, just the fact that SpongeBob has a breakfast shift, which is like you're making burgers for breakfast. I don't know who's coming to order these. I guess they don't eat anything else in the SpongeBob universe, but I could be wrong. This one reeks as being the oldest game ever, I swear, because it looks more 16 and 8-bit than anything else. You could tell why Nickelodeon wasn't doing as many video games as they were Nick games, because they pretty much have more control over this. They're simpler, shorter.
Ah! Oh jelly! Oh jelly! Aha! I finally gotcha!
Even though they didn't get me a lot more nostalgia, because I love Battle for Bikini Bottom, the Flying Dutchman game, like, I'm a big SpongeBob gamer, and just the fact that they had all these mini games, like, you could tell that they were more committed to these. And were they wrong? Do you guys remember playing this one? Because there's no way you didn't. Oh, they also had a SpongeBob and Sandy karate contest, which is kind of cool. We got to see both of their houses back to back as they fought in karate. The most off-kilter one, though, is called SpongeBob in the Ruin for the Krusty Krab. And it's just SpongeBob jumping over jellyfish and poles. Kind of like a short relay race, but if they had no actual elements of SpongeBob that were unique to it, like the jellyfish don't even look like SpongeBob jellyfish. And I don't even want to talk about how awkward the angle is on SpongeBob. Like, what is this perspective? It must have been so early in the series. Oh, this is definitely one of the coolest ones, SpongeBob's Pizza Toss. So this one, you're actually driving through Bikini Bottom, tossing pizzas, delivering, because that pizza delivery episode was iconic. And there's even a little timer with a boat steering wheel on the right. Like, I love this one. I remember one day coming home from school and seeing, like, this one as, like, a new one and thinking that it was the most fun I've probably had on a SpongeBob Nick game. God, as if these haven't been enough, there's even more games that I just, oh my gosh, guys. So there's a SpongeBob shuffleboard game. You pretty much shuffle jellyfish down the line, and I think this is a really cute setup, but it's not that interesting. I don't know why it's so different from the bowling one. I mean, the fact you could pay as Sandy, maybe that's a thing. Oh, and I forgot that they have one of those slider games where you could move different tiles to make a picture work. Yeah, they had these really basic games that any network could have done, which is like, of course you'll do them because you want to get people on your website. SpongeBob's pretty iconic, but I don't have a lot of nostalgia for these because of how many networks did it at once.
I've looked all over the pineapple for Gary, and I can't find him anywhere!
Oh, there's a game called Trail of the Snail, which at this point it feels like they had a game for every episode because they have the Have You Seen the Snail picture in the background, which is the episode title. And this one I actually played a lot. There was a lot more intricacies to this one, like you got a whole Bikini Bottom map, and you would go to different places with a paddle ball, seeing all these characters. And you have to pretty much kill everybody except for the main character, which I don't know what this is teaching kids, but it taught me to hate people. But you can't argue with me that this isn't such a cute game. Like, all the locations in Bikini Bottom that you never really get to see. Like, I don't know what Martha's Craft Zone is, but I wish we could see it. And when you finally get Gary, it says, makes life worth living. And that's a really dark statement to make, SpongeBob. I can't believe they took it that existentially. Oh, they have Sponge Seek, which is a hide-and-seek type game, but like Battleship. You get a bunch of sponge tiles, and you have to hide them within the board, and you get to play with a computer, guessing where theirs are. And this is a lot of fun. I really like board games like this. I miss stuff. But yeah, by far, SpongeBob had the most games on Nick.com, especially in 2004. And the fact that this was so early is insane to me because it's like, how many more games of SpongeBob are they going to add? How many games of SpongeBob need to exist? I mean, I love the console games. Shout out to the Cosmic Shake, one of the newest SpongeBob games to even come out and be incredible. Yeah, I'm big nostalgia for the SpongeBob movie game, Battle for Bikini Bottom, and this is like a nice little throwback. I didn't realize how accurate they could be to the show, but it definitely holds its little place in time.
So yeah, those were some of the more interesting finds from Nick.com. Like, I cannot believe some of the stuff I found under these shows. If you guys were interested in more about this content, I, again, have the longer version available on my channel. Don't forget to check it out, and thank you guys so much for your support. Johnny 2000 would not be growing this much if it wasn't for you guys, and I appreciate you all. Okay, have a great day!